My name is Mike Corey. I'm the founder of Ntirety, and one of the things that I'm really proud of here is the fact that we've always been ahead of the curve. To kind of put things in perspective, though, I'd like to give you a little bit of the history of Ntirety. So it was the late 80s, and I was running a very successful consulting company. We had grown 5,000% in 5 years, and I was sweating payroll. And I got up in the middle of the night at 3 a.m. to get a drink of water, and I thought to myself, it just works. And as I thought about database administration at the time, and I thought about all the factors, I said to myself, a database to me is like the electric company. It's like a utility. It should just work. You shouldn't have to think about it. You should just rely on it being there. And I thought, what a great idea that would be for a company. I went back to my management team, and nobody understood what I was talking about. So then, after I sold that company and I founded Ntirety in 2001, as I was looking at the economy, I had this feeling that the economy was going to come to a grinding halt. Little did I realize how right I was. And I thought, I want to be in a business that is a must-have. And that gave me the idea to get into the remote DBA business that I had had an idea quite a few years earlier. And then as I really thought about this business, the game changer was the internet. It created safe, secure connectivity remotely. So we created this business. We started very successfully doing things at a fraction of the cost of anyone else. And we go to talk to people and nobody understood what we were talking about. And so I had to, for quite a few years, educate people. Then one day I turned around and was starting to go on sales calls and everybody was doing what we were doing. Now I would argue there's a big difference between what we were doing and they were doing, but you know what? People, until they really work with you, really don't know what they're getting into. And so then we went from a business that had to be educated to a business that everyone was doing, and most people were doing with an offshore resource. And I thought to myself, my God, we should be really leveraging technology, because if we can use technology, we can maintain, or more importantly, automate the processes of a DBA, which bring down costs, and more important, bring up quality. And we developed the Ntrust appliance, of which we've won numerous awards, way ahead of its game. This ability for a technology to automate the roles of a DBA, but more importantly, self-heal or predictively find things that might go wrong with your database. So for example, what I mean by self-heal, most DBA firms, you run out of space, they come in the middle of the night, they add the space, they pound their chest and say, what a great job we did. Me as a technologist, I say, could that problem have been prevented? So the way we work in Ntirety is we wake up in the middle of the day, normal work day, and we say, we know there's a backup that's going to run tonight. Does it have enough space? If the answer is no to that question, let's programmatically purge, and let's create the space that's needed. And then let's check again if there's enough space, and let's go to sleep. What we did was we prevented that possible database outage happening proactively in the first place. And so we've really been good about being way ahead of the curve. One of the things we were one of the first companies to do is the Unified Cloud Service Provider Audit. For years, people asked me to do audits. They asked me for SAE 16s. I got to be honest with you, having a financial firm come in, charge me lots of money to give me an audit that adds no value to the business never excited me, and I was never really a big proponent. And then I discovered the fact that the MSP Alliance had gotten people like me in a room and said, what really should we be auditing? And they created an auditing standard that to me made sense. It looked at security, it looked at process. It really validated that if you were a company in the cloud someplace doing business remotely, that you were who you were, and more importantly, there was a housekeeping seal that you said you did it properly. So for example, there was a company in the UK that people were doing business with. They had all your traditional audits, and one day they ran out of money. They picked up the phone, they called their customers and said, if you don't give us 50,000 or 100,000 pounds, we're going to close up shop and you're going to be out of business. And they basically put a gun to all their customers' heads, and the customers didn't have a choice, but they had all the audits. But not one of those audits actually looked at the financial stability of the company. So when we first went through this auditing process, which is quite extensive, and we've been doing this now for a number of years, they look at our security processes, right? And they document if they find any issues. But more importantly, through the MSP audit or the Cloud Verify program, you can trust that you're doing business with a company that practices what it preaches and has all the tenets of a very financially solid business with good business practices, so they look at our ticket flow. My point was, our charter is to raise, we want to do exceptional work for our clients. We want a long-term relationship. We're always looking at technologies that can make the business smarter and better. We're always looking at things like the MSP Alliance audit, which can validate that we are who we are and we do what we say. And we always are important that we raise a culture of keeping very good people here for a very long time. So I have lots of employees who started with me when I started the business in 2001. I'm very proud of that fact. But more importantly, I think we have the finest database administration and data services company in the world today.